It all started with a funny smell, like sweat and pride. Jason walked into the dojo, a big room where people learned to fight. His shoulders were low, and he kept his hands behind his back. He looked calm. On the floor were many young fighters. They didn't wear shoes, and most of them looked full of confidence, even a little too proud. Some were practicing, others were playing on their phones, recording videos. But when the door shut behind Jason, everyone looked at him. The room got quiet. Jason didn't say anything. He didn't have to. They all knew who he was, kind of like how people know when a big storm is coming. They could feel it. But only one man looked Jason straight in the eyes. At the far end of the mat stood a man wearing a very clean white outfit called a GI. On the back of it, there was a red dragon. He wore a black belt tied way too tight, and he had a big smile that looked too fake. That man was called Master Tenjin, and this dojo? It was his kingdom. Jason came for one reason. But what happened next wasn't what he expected. Tenjin clapped his hands once. He looked at all his students and talked loudly, pretending Jason wasn't even there. He pointed at Jason like he was just part of the wall, like a prop. Not important. Not a person. That's when Jason understood something. Tenjin wasn't just being silly. He was doing this on purpose. He wanted all the students to watch. He wanted to be the center of attention. He wanted Jason to be a joke. Some students laughed right when Tenjin made jokes. It was like they were told when to laugh. One of them even started filming everything on their phone. Tenjin walked across the mat slowly, but talked fast. His voice bounced off the walls like music with no real feeling. He was showing off, not being kind. Jason didn't move. Not even when Tenjin made fun of him. Not when he copied Jason's old fighting pose. Not even when he challenged Jason to a match, right there, in front of everyone. No warm-up. No gloves. Just a fight. Live. On camera. But Jason still didn't move. He wasn't there to fight. He was there to give a warning. Then, the feeling in the room changed. It wasn't just showing off anymore. It was like a trap. Tenjin was trying to make Jason fight. He wanted to make him angry. He wanted to catch it on camera. Jason took one small step forward. Suddenly, everything stopped. Tenjin's talking stopped. His big smile got a little smaller. Behind him on the wall were many shiny awards and plaques, all lined up perfectly straight. But one of them had something strange on it. A name had been scratched out. That name was Jason's. Jason blinked. The room got even quieter. That award was not just a prize. It was like a cut. A hurt feeling. And Tenjin had tried to hide Jason's name like he never existed. That's when Jason understood. This wasn't just a joke. This was a setup. He looked around the room. Every phone was pointed at him. This wasn't just people being proud. It was a show. Tenjin wanted to make Jason into a silly video. A joke. A meme. Jason's jaw got tight. His chest moved up and down slowly. Still, he didn't say a word. But his next step was louder than any words could be. Tenjin flinched. In that tiny moment, Jason saw something. Fear. Tenjin hadn't forgotten the old lessons. He just tried really hard to pretend they didn't happen. Jason tilted his head just a little. That was all it took. Tenjin quickly turned back to the students and laughed again, trying to act like everything was fine. He asked Jason to give them a fun show. He moved some cameras, took off his GI jacket, and stretched like a circus clown getting ready to jump through fire. Jason didn't stretch. He didn't pose. He just took off his coat, folded it nicely, and put it near the door. Then he walked to the middle of the mat and waited. Tenjin bounced on his feet, ready to fight. The students leaned in. Phones were recording again. Tenjin threw the first punch. I missed it. Jason didn't even move. Tenjin tried again. This time the punch touched Jason a little, just a soft tap on the ribs. It wasn't a real hit. It was more like Tenjin was pretending to be the boss without actually hurting Jason. Tenjin wasn't fighting. He was acting. Then Jason did something surprising. He took one step back. A full step. Off the mat. Then, he turned around. And walked to the door. The crowd gasped. Phones came down. Whispers started. Tenjin's voice got louder. He laughed and called Jason a chicken. He said Jason couldn't even take a hit. But Jason didn't turn back. He opened the door, stood in the frame, and paused. He didn't say a word. But the quiet in that moment was louder than a shout. Jason knew the cameras were on. He knew people would laugh at the video. He knew they might say he was weak. But he also knew something that Tenjin forgot. When a student betrays their teacher, the real lesson comes later. After the silence, Jason walked out the door. 15 minutes later, something strange happened. The lights in the dojo went off. Everything went dark. No flash. No warning. The front doors locked. From the outside. Then, a scream. It wasn't Jason's voice. It came from one of the students. And what happened next didn't feel like a practice match. It didn't feel like a lesson. It felt like a nightmare. The lights didn't come back. No backup lights. No glow from exit signs. Just deep, heavy blackness. The kind of dark that eats up sound and makes your heart pound. People started panicking. Footsteps scrambled across the mat. Phones dropped. Someone cursed while trying to find a switch, but there was none. Tenjin's voice came through the dark, telling everyone to stay calm. But his voice cracked. Once. Then again. He was scared too. Because he knew. This wasn't just the power going out. This was planned. Too perfect. Too clean. Jason had left like a ghost, but now, it felt like he was still in the room. Then came a noise. Not a scream. Not words. Just a thud, the sound of someone's body hitting the mat hard. Then the sharp oof of someone losing their breath. Flashlights flicked on. One student was lying down, out cold. Another backed away, holding his nose. It was bleeding and looked broken. Jason wasn't there. But someone was. No one opened the door. No windows were broken. But suddenly, 3 more students fell to the ground. Before anyone could even understand what was happening. The dojo wasn't a place to train anymore. It was a trap. Tenjin stood in the center. Barefoot. Hands shaking. All his students were looking at him, not with pride, but fear. They used to think he was strong. But now, they weren't so sure. Tenjin backed away, trying to act like a leader. He told them what to do, but no one listened. No one followed. Jason had walked in earlier and shown everyone who really held the power. Tenjin slipped through a door into the back hallway. The hallway was quiet. He could only hear his own breathing. He passed the weight room. It was empty. He passed the trophy case. One glass piece had a crack in it. The crack was fresh. And it went right across a name on a trophy. A name that used to be Jason's. But Tenjin had scratched it out long ago. Then, a voice. Soft. Behind him. Not loud. Not angry. Just there. Tenjin stopped. He turned. No one was there. He ran. Down the hall, into his office. He slammed the door, locked it, and leaned on the desk, shaking and sweating. He opened the bottom drawer fast, looking for a flashlight or a phone. But all he found was a folded piece of paper. He stared at it. His hand shook. He opened it. 3 words. Written in dark ink. We're not done. He dropped the paper like it was hot. Because the handwriting. It wasn't Jason's. It was his own. Copied perfectly. The name under the paper wasn't Jason's. It was Tenjin's own name. That's when it all made sense to Tenjin. This wasn't about showing things on camera. It wasn't about being embarrassed in front of people. Jason didn't come to just fight Tenjin. He came to take down everything Tenjin had built. Jason wanted to break more than just Tenjin's body. He wanted to break Tenjin's name, his power, the stories people believed about him. And Jason was doing it slowly, one piece at a time. Suddenly, the door behind Tenjin made a creaking sound. It didn't open, but it moved a little. Like someone was pushing on it from the outside. Tenjin stepped back, scared, and knocked over a lamp. He tried to grab his phone, but there was no signal. Then something really strange happened. The walls began to talk. At least, that's what it felt like. There were tiny speakers hidden in the corners of the dojo. They turned on with a crackling noise. But it wasn't music or alarms. It was a recording. A very old one. Jason's voice came first. He was teaching. He was helping someone get better at fighting. Then, a second voice came, Tenjin's voice. But it was younger, softer. He called Jason sensei, which means teacher. Tenjin's head spun. Jason had proof. Proof that a long time ago, Tenjin was just a student. Jason had taught him everything. Tenjin wasn't the master. He had taken Jason's lessons and pretended they were his own. The lights in the hallway flickered on. Not all at once, one at a time, like counting down. Tenjin slowly opened the office door. He stopped breathing. All the students were standing in a line in the dojo. They were quiet. On the floor in front of them was a broken sign. It used to have Jason's name scratched out. But now Jason's name was burned in, big and bold. Next to it was a black belt, neatly folded. This time, Jason wasn't offering a fight. He was holding up a mirror, showing the truth. Tenjin stepped onto the mat again, but his legs were shaky. He didn't feel strong anymore. The cameras, the fame, the fans, all gone. Jason walked in from the far side. He wore no coat. He didn't make a sound. He didn't raise his hands to fight. He just stood still. There were no phones. No people cheering. Just silence. Tenjin rushed at Jason first. Jason didn't block. He moved a little, just enough. He didn't hit hard. He hit smart. Every move was careful. It didn't even feel like a fight. It felt like a lesson. A lesson that didn't hurt, until it needed to. Jason waited until Tenjin made a mistake. When Tenjin slipped and fell, Jason struck, just once. One perfect hit. Tenjin dropped. He wasn't knocked out. He was just done. His strength, his lies, his pride, all gone. Jason leaned over. He didn't say anything. He didn't look angry. Just sad. Because nothing hurts more than seeing someone throw away everything they could have been, just to make people like them. Jason stood up. The students didn't clap. They didn't cheer. They bowed. Tenjin never stepped back on that mat again. But Jason wasn't done. Because outside, someone else had been watching the whole time. Someone with their own reason to come back into Jason's life. Jason left the dojo quietly. No high fives. No smiling. Just walking. The doors shut behind him like a book closing. It felt like the end of a story he never wanted to read again. Outside, it was raining hard, but Jason didn't care. His mind was somewhere else. Because Tenjin had been just one piece of the puzzle. He wasn't the real danger. 3 blocks away, in a dark room full of computer screens, a man was watching the same fight. The man had a sharp face and lots of scars. Scars not from punches, but from being hurt by people he trusted. On the biggest screen, Jason's fight played again and again. Rewinding. Pausing. Watching every move. The man leaned closer to the screen. Behind him was an old photo. 4 men. All wearing black belts. 2 were smiling. 2 were not. One of the serious men was Jason. The other was the man watching now. His name was Silas Rook. A long time ago, Jason and Silas were like brothers. They trained together. They fought in secret missions together. They trusted each other. Until something happened. Until Jason left. Now, Silas had built something powerful again. And whether Jason meant to or not, he had just stepped into it. Back in his small apartment, Jason sat near the window. The room was quiet and empty. He hadn't gone to the dojo to hurt Tenjin. That wasn't the plan. He went because Tenjin's students were showing up in underground fights. They were hurt, bloody, out of control. One was in the hospital. One had vanished. Jason tried to talk to Tenjin, twice. But Tenjin turned it into a big show. Now, it is over. At least for now. But the broken sign, the lights, the sound system, that wasn't Tenjin. Someone else had set it all up. And now, that someone was back. Jason pulled out an old box from under the table. It was dusty. He hadn't opened it in years. Inside were a pair of black gloves, worn down at the knuckles, a broken dog tag, and a list of names. Tenjin's name was second. The first name? Silas Rook. Jason's old friend. His closest teammate. and the man who betrayed their whole unit on their last mission. The army covered it up with fake stories. But Jason remembered. He remembered the friends who didn't come back. Silas had disappeared, until now. Until the dojo. Jason's jaw tightened. He picked up the gloves. They still fit. But they felt heavier now. This wasn't about honor anymore. This was personal. 2 nights later, an envelope slid under Jason's door. No name. No stamp. Just black paper. Inside was a silver card. The summit. Private fight match. Invitation only. Underground arena. 47A, back door. 1 fighter. 1 witness. No helpers. At the bottom, someone had written in pen, "Come finish what you started, AR." Jason let out a long breath. This was it. The summit wasn't just a fight. It was a secret place. The best fighters came here. Some never left. Legends were made and broken there. At the old dockyard, the summit had already started. The ring was in the middle. No crowd. No shouting. Only breathing. Only eyes watching. The floor had blood on it. The lights were bright. There were no cameras, or maybe too many hidden. Jason stepped in. Silas was already inside. He didn't stretch. He didn't move. He just stood like a statue made of anger and memory. They didn't talk. They didn't bow. They remembered. Silas struck first, fast and sharp. Jason answered, not flashy, but smart. They weren't just fighting with their bodies. They were fighting with their past. Then Silas started to talk, between punches. He spoke about the mission. About the lies. About the day Jason didn't follow orders. Jason saved some people that day, but it broke the rules. It made the team look bad. Silas said Jason ran away. That he hid behind fame and movies while Silas rebuilt the old ways. Jason didn't answer. He just hit harder. Then the fight got wild. Elbows. Knees. Slams into the cage. They weren't fighting to win. They were fighting to be heard. The mat turned red. Finally, Jason pinned Silas. He raised a fist, but didn't hit. Instead, he leaned down and whispered something in Silas's ear. We don't know what he said, but it was enough. Silas's body went still. Not knocked out. Just done. The people watching didn't move. Jason didn't smile. He walked out the way he came. Alone. Back in his flat, Jason burned the card. He put the gloves back in the box. He looked at the list of names. Tenjin's name, crossed out. Silas's name, crossed out. One name left. His own. Because Jason finally understood something. He wasn't fighting for revenge. He was trying to find peace. Peace with himself. But some fights? They never end. Especially when the past doesn't stay quiet. Did you enjoy the story? I'd love to hear what you think. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you had fun, make sure to subscribe and tap the bell so you never miss the next adventure. Thanks for being here, and as always, stay curious, stay bold, and keep exploring.